Welcome to this episode of The Art of Reading, the second episode of Art of Reading. In this channel, I live at a time. Welcome. And in this episode, we're going to start with analysis as a critical thinking skill. Yes, definitely analysis is a critical thinking skill because it helps in determining the quality of the information that has to be read. There are four main parts of a text that could be analyzed, and they could be the content and the language, the purpose, and the structure of the text. Content, language, purpose, and structure. Now, what is this process all about? Reading a text for the purpose of analysis requires one to read the text more than once. That means you got to reread it for further investigation. All right. You could disagree with the context, you could agree with the context, and a lot of other things. So that requires a good deal of rereading and understanding, which is the basis. All right. Now, there are a couple of skills for reading successfully. One of them is called decoding. Decoding is the ability to sound out words that we have heard before, right? But maybe haven't been that familiar with. So decoding is the ability to familiarize with the unfamiliar, words or contexts. Nevertheless, the context is true. Now, another category is phonics. Phonics is the ability to recognize the connection between the sounds and the letters they make. The connection between the sounds and letters. And then vocabulary, which is fundamentally important for academic success. A good vocabulary is the strength of LSRW, listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And the more we read, our vocabulary will develop more and more, right? And finally, after good vocabulary, it boils down to fluency. And fluency is the ability to read with fluency and with understanding, accuracy, and of course, speed. And if all these things are in cohesion, are in sync, it'll sync with the reader's mindset also properly. And it'll develop the proper tone. All right. And then finally, if all these things goes in order, the reader would be able to reason properly. I think properly, right? Reasoning becomes vibrant, reasoning becomes powerful if the above mentioned factors are synced properly in the reader's faculties. And the reader will be finally focused also, truly focused. Now, there are four different types of reading techniques: skimming, scanning, intensive reading, and extensive reading. Skimming is referred to as gist reading, GIST, which means going through the text to grasp the prime idea, the core idea, the gist. You got to read it in a bit more detailed way, looking for the important points in the text. So pronunciation is not a major issue here, but more than pronunciation, focus is the issue. The reader has to be truly focused. It's like searching for a name in a telephone directory, all right? Or maybe your skimming is used for reading reviews, used for reading the speeches, or sometimes quick research materials, and popularly the last minute exam reviews. Next comes scanning, and the reader usually quickly scuttles across sentences to get to the particular piece of information. It involves the techniques of rejecting certain ideas and accepting certain ideas. Rejection and acceptance both goes hand in hand here. It's called scanning. So you have to locate, if you want to locate a particular piece of information, then you scan. Intensive reading involves close reading, and it aims at the accuracy of comprehension. The reader needs to mix himself or herself with the text and mix in depth. With the usage of intensive reading, one gets an in-depth understanding of the text through what? Active reading, applying all the facets of reading. Right. If you need to think critically and absorb the text and analyze a complex text, you need to go for intensive reading. You must carefully read, absorb, and investigate the text for meaning, for deeper meaning. And technically, you could use a dictionary or thesaurus when you go for intensive reading. Next, extensive reading. It lays more emphasis on your fluency and a little bit less on accuracy, because it's primarily for pleasure. Extensive reading could be primarily for pleasure. So your fluency matters here. Fluency with correctness, correct tone, correct phonetics. So it's kind of an out of the classroom activity. It's enjoyable, right? So there's another important process in reading, which is called speed reading. It may not be the fundamental point of reading, but it's a good one to understand what it is. Speed reading aims to increase the reading speed while equally understanding the meaning of the text. So, speed reading needs the application of the senses to identify the words without focusing on each and every letter, right? It should be a reflex action. Speed reading involves concentrating on the reading and not getting distracted to other kinds of barriers. Maybe a little bit of noise somewhere, maybe other kinds of barriers, right? And finally, speed reading involves teaching oneself to keep the eye movements steady while reading. That's it. That's it for today. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for your intent. Thank you for your passion through this second episode of The Art of Reading. Keep watching the next episodes. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.